Hey there, how you doing? Charlie Winters here with horse racing and football selections for Saturday, the 11th of October, 2025. So, the last bet I gave you was the Sunday SOP bet, and it was a very good day. It returned, the stake was something like £15.60, and it returned £102. Well, for this Saturday, for the football selections, I won't be using the SOP because there's only basically one and a half divisions playing. You've got part of League One and part of League Two, but sorry, and most of League Two. But I have got something interesting that I tried the other day that I didn't create a video about it. Oh, sorry, I just knocked something over. Um, and I've actually used AI again. So hold on for the second part of the video, and I shall show you. It's going to be very brief because I've got it all written down already, and you'll see what's been instructed. So as for the horse racing, it's a very interesting day. It's so tricky. What I am going to do is I meant to put another little bet on with basically doubles where I've gone for three in one race, three in another because I think it's really tricky. But I do fancy a number of horses in the Cesarewitch and also is it the Coral Sprint Trophy? I think it's called. So let me get into it. So it's a 10 pence each way, lucky 63. If you've got a Sky Bet account, you're probably better off putting this bet on in there because you'll get extra places. So the first selection is Flying Comet. It's in the 130 at York. So this selection is one of the very few horses that are dropping down in class. I think Division, which was the favourite, will be very difficult to beat, but I think it's quite wide open after that. But I can't go too far down the field, like price wise, looking for bigger prices because it is tricky. But I think this is one of the more obvious horses with a chance. It's trained by Simon Crisford. I think the good ground will be more suitable, even though you could say it's bred to go on soft ground. And even though it went to Deauville for a race, which you would think it went for soft ground, I'm not convinced it's really wanting the soft ground. Um, I don't believe it's rained overnight. I think it'll still be good ground. I don't think that good ground will change. There's probably going to be a drying wind, but I think it'll stay as good ground. So Flying Comet is the selection. One horse I do like in particular is Kihava, and that's the next selection in the 5 past 2 at York. It's a solid performer. Runs well over hurdles, um, on the flat, at a wide variety of distances on the flat. It's dropping back in trip a little bit this time round, but I think it'll be staying on right to the line when others are pretty much bailing, to be honest. It's probably not the right word, treading water. Um, so I've gone for Kihava in the 5 past 2 at York. It's in decent form. Ran a decent race last time. I think it finished something like 8 of 20. Yeah, and I do think it's got another solid chance. Adrian Keatley has been. I say he's been fairly. It was fairly quiet. I think he's just beginning to have a few winners now, and I think he had a couple at Ripon the other day. The next selection, this is the race where I will be absolutely pulling my ear out. Where I mentioned I'll pick three for a certain race. I could easily pick about half a dozen. Um, I can pretty much guarantee the fact that I'm not probably not going to have Jordan Electrics or Comanche, whatever the it's not Comanche. I don't think Comanche Falls. I think it is. You can guarantee that probably one of those two will do me, or they'll probably come reverse forecast. But I just can't quite have them if I'm being honest. I'll have another look, but my selection for the race is, and so I looked at some of the racing at York yesterday, and they seem to be coming down the middle or even to the near side. I don't know if that's going to continue. Normally, when the ground's been slower and gradually drying out, even though I said it's probably going to stay good, they do tend to normally edge towards the far side. Well, it doesn't give me that impression that they're going to, but I just think, in my opinion, um, there is quite a lot of pace in the low numbers. You've got Guido, who I like the look of, who ran well last time in I think it was the Air Gold Cup. So you've got Guido. I think it's called Hammer the Hammer, drawn 8. I expect that to be probably more towards far side or middle. So there are some other horses that also like to get out. Well, Corker likes a fast pace to chase, and I saw it in a race, and I think that was at Ripon the other day as well, or not long ago. I think it was Ripon. I might be wrong. Could even be Musselburgh. Doesn't matter. All I'm saying is, what it was. It had some. It wasn't unlucky in the race, but it was never really given a chance. It was held up like it normally is. It was travelling well, and it was doing it, but ducking and diving, some weaving in between horses. Never really involved it. But I'm thinking like, yeah, that's fine. But at York, there's plenty of room. I think there'll be no excuses today, and there's very few prizes left now. It's off a very workable mark, and Jack Callan has ridden it pretty much all the time recently, and I think this Corker will be absolutely flying at the finish. And the horse-drawn one is called Guido, which I also like, but Guido is a more of a 7 furlong performer. However, it's got to utilise that 7 furlong stamina. So what would you expect it to do? You'd expect it to burn up from the start pretty much. It's got to really stretch them. So therefore, hopefully, it should play into Corker's hands. And like I said, I'm guessing Guido could also be taken on for the lead by Hammer the Hammer, which has drawn 8. So it's very interesting, but I just think low to middle, there's loads of pace. Don't get me wrong, there is a fair amount of pace on the high numbers, but I just think there's more on the low numbers, and that's what's tipping my favour. Even though the jockeys have been preferring to head towards high numbers. Anyway, I'll leave it with you, but I'm going for Cork, and I think it's drawn about 5. The next selection is Ribble Vibe in the 4:30 at York, owned by the Horse Watchers. One of the very last meetings at York. I don't think it's the last one. I might be wrong, but there's not many more left anyway, and Horse Watchers have done very well with David O'Meara. I know that now actually they've got a few horses with other trainers, and I think basically it's David O'Meara that's put them on the map really with how well he's done with the horses. They're very good at getting horses that have been on either the decline um, and now have decent handicap marks, or horses that have come from big yards. Well, this one comes from the Godolphin setup. It was trained by Andre Fabre in 2023, also ran in 2024, but also disappointed in 2024. I believe it was then gelded, went to David O'Meara, um, and I think it's got the profile of a horse that's been messed around with. And I don't mean anything untoward. It's just like it's like had a run on turf, had a run on the all weather, back on turf, back on the all weather, back on turf, back on all weather. And I just think, although it did okay for Andre Fabre on the all weather, that was on the poly track. Well, it's never ran on the poly track in this country. It's ran on Tapita or Tapita, whatever you want to call it. But I just think that even though it's been running okay and just out the placings, it's still been coming down. Its handicap mark's still been coming down. So I think it's got to be aimed at this kind of race, in my opinion, especially being owned by the horse watchers because they love York and the northern tracks, and also basically um, races where the prize money is pretty decent. So this is my least fancied horse, but it's also got the same kind of profile as Ribble Vibe. So I'll put it in a nutshell with this Arcalia Flynn in the 5+5 at York. The last time it was running well, it was on more flat galloping tracks. Since then, it's been very, very hit and miss, but it's been to the likes of Epsom, Goodwood. There was another one that I was going to say. I can't remember which one it was, but there was also Carlisle as well. I'm not saying Carlisle's the same as Epsom and Goodwood, but Carlisle, it is very undulating. Um, Back on this flatter track, and Jack Shannon is extremely shrewd, and he has had some decent winners at York. I just think this is a very interesting, well, a decent price. Um, if it's crying out for this flat track, it was given a break and it had a recent run, and it was only a steady recent run, nothing fantastic. So it's got to have come on for the run, but I do think it's got a bit of a dark horse chance. Realistically, it may never come out of last place, but I just think it's got a bit of a sniff. So the next selection and the final selection is in the final selection in this order is Winter Fog in the 340 at Newmarket. Very interesting in this horse. The fact that obviously it's Woodley Mullins in the Cesarewitch. He's got some other runners. I didn't see how many he got. I definitely saw one which is called Bunting. But this Winter Fog, it's been doing extremely well over hurdles. However, I find it interesting as though they're setting up for a race. The fact that two of its three flat runs have been in ladies only races. Don't quite get that. Not sure. And I don't know this, so I'm making it up pretty much. I'm just clutching at straws. These ladies races, does the horse not get penalised or something? I don't know. But I'm just thinking it seems very odd. Or did he just want them to be tenderly handled by a woman? Because obviously, I think there's a lot of good women jockeys out there, but they don't. They can get a lot of momentum out of them, and I think some of the women, certain women like Joanna Mason, um, Safi Osborne, and I'm probably missing a more obvious one, but I just think they're right up there, and probably they're definitely in the top 10 of jockeys that I would have on my selections. Um, and I'm just thinking, is it a horse that really needs rousting? And I'm I'm looking for an angle here. Basically, does it think by putting a woman on it that it will be effective, but it really needs stronger handling. So therefore, it could be a few pounds well in by only being tenderly ridden by. Don't get me wrong, it's still. I think it's one. It's never been out the first two. I think, but in its three flat runs. But I'm trying to find an angle why he's put this horse into ladies only races two of the times. Um, and now all of a sudden it's in the Cesarewitch. Very interesting, although it is battle hardened because it's been in some very competitive hurdle races. But one of the runs where it ran on the flat, it ran behind, I think, a horse called Mr. Percy. Mr. Percy at the time was rated 78. It wasn't a handicap, it was I think it was just a maiden. But it was beaten 7 lengths by Mr. Percy that day, put in its place, although Winterfog was the favourite that day. I think it was 11 to 10, and Mr. Percy was 7 to 4. So basically a two-horse race. It was put in its place Winterfog that day, but Mr. Percy is now rated 95. And it recently run in a top Irish race. I'm not sure which one it was. Would it be the is the Irish Cesarewitch or I don't know. Make yourself look daft now. I don't follow Irish racing. It was a very I think there was 30 runners in the race. Um, so all I'm saying is it came up a decent in that day. I think Winter Fog could be a very interesting selection. So yeah, so that's a 10 pence each way. Look at 63. So let me just get on to now. This is going to be very brief. So the horse racing enthusiasts, just hang around 1 second. If you're ever interested in the football, there's a site called fbref.com. FBref, I don't know. There's so many stats, it's unbelievable. Well, I use all these in in AI. Basically, you can take a picture of them, um, and AI can read the picture, and you can ask anything you want. So this is what I've done. So this is going to be Saturday's football bet. So basically, what I did is I'm pleased about that because I didn't actually check the screen properly to see if it was formatted. So I've pasted League One and League Two into Chat GPT, and then so what I did is you can't quite see this, but I put give me three fixtures for each requirement, and the requirement was both teams to score in the first half and the three highest scoring matches you'll think there'll be. So this is the bet I'm going to have. I'm going to have basically, I think it's a couple of quid on both teams to score in the first half. It's quite decent prices. You can get a decent return. So this is the treble I'm going to have. So it's going to be a £2 treble, and all these three matches, both teams to score in the first half. Yeah. Then what I'm also going to have is I am going to have it's going to be also a both teams to score in the match. Yeah, so we're going for the bit of a jackpot bet by both teams to score in the first half, but then also both teams to score in the match in a separate treble. And then most total goals in the full time for the top three fixtures. So it's even giving the prediction Um, in a nutshell, it's saying strong probability of at least 3 goals in all matches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the regular something like £7 over 2.5 goal treble, and the matches are Chesterfield versus Salford, Stockport versus Blackpool, and Burton versus Bolton. So this will be a £7 over 2.5 goals treble, and then a £3 over 3.5 goals treble. The same matches that you can see. So let me just scroll down because I don't know what it said after this. Look, so would you like me to give each of these 6 fixtures a numeric probability score? Right, I'm going to switch off very shortly. I'm just going to put yeah. I'm sat in the dark, by the way, so I could have quite easily pressed anything then. So this is probably going to mean absolutely nothing, but it's coming up. So this is apparently the probability. So I'm sure you can pause it where you want. I'm just going to scroll down gradually. Safest, both teams score one bit Chesterfield. So there you go. It's giving you the most obvious one there. Safest, both teams score in the first half is Chesterfield and Salford. Highest total goal ceiling, Chesterfield versus Salford again. And then sneaky underdog for chaos, Stockport, Blackpool. Right, okay, ignore that bit. But basically, it's basically saying there's going to be loads of goals in the Chesterfield and Salford match. So you've seen all the bets for today. That's everything. I haven't put the football one on. I'm just about to put that one on now. So I wish the very best of luck. If you can give me a like or a subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. Charlie Winters, over and out. Cheers, mate.